The orders, decorations, and medals of Canada comprise a complex system by which Canadians are honored by the country's sovereign for actions or deeds that benefit their community or the country at large. Modeled on its British predecessor, the structure originated in the 1930s, but began to come to full fruition at the time of Canada's centennial in 1967 with the establishment of the Order of Canada, and has since grown in both size and scope to include dynastic and national orders, state, civil, and military decorations, and various campaign medals. The monarch in right of each Canadian province also issues distinct orders and medals to honor residents for work performed in just the province. The provincial honors, as with some of the national counterparts, grant the use of post-nominal letters and supporters and other devices to be used on personal coats of arms. The monarch is regarded as the fount of all honors, as he or she is the only person who may create new national honors, and acts as the sovereign of all of Canada's orders. She, or other members of the Canadian royal family, will conduct inductions or present medals. In Canada, the monarch is represented by the Governor-General, who also carries out investitures and distributes awards in the sovereign's name. As such, the administration of the honours system is carried out by the Chancellery of Honours at Government House, which is a part of the office of the Secretary to the Governor-General of Canada. The Governor-General also sets out via order in Council the order of precedence for the wearing of insignia, decorations, and medals. History. Imperial and colonial honors. Since as far back as the reign of King Louis XIV, the monarchs that reigned over colonies in New France, British North America, and present-day Canada have bestowed royal honors, decorations, and medals on those living under the sovereignty, in recognition of the services to the state. Early governors of New France also desire to establish local honors in or import European honors to Canada. Samuel de Champlain, for instance, founded on 14 November 1606 the Order of Good Cheer, and Charles de Montmagny had designs to establish the Sovereign Military Order of Malta in New France while he was governor from 1635 to 1648. The Order Royal et Militaire de St. Louis, established by King Louis XIV in 1693 specifically to honor worthy French Catholic military officers, came to be one of the most familiar honors in New France. Some 300 people associated with Canada were appointed into it, Louis Hector de Caillery being the first. Appointments into the order continued even after the transfer of New France to the British Crown in 1763. After the creation of British North America, Canadians were entitled to receive British imperial honours, though the awarding of these was not consistently allowed. From Confederation until the Nickel Resolution in 1919, the Order of St. Michael and St. George served as the equivalent of today's Order of Canada, being the highest non-peerage honour available to Canadian politicians, judges, and civil servants. Appointments into the Order of the British Empire, into grades below those that carried a title, were also commonly made. Besides knighthoods, peerage titles were also bestowed on Canadians, sometimes with uniquely Canadian designations, such as Baroness MacDonald of Earnscliffe and Baron Beaverbrook of Beaverbrook in the province of New Brunswick and of Chirkley in the county of Surrey, and permitted those so honoured to sit in the House of Lords at Westminster. Such acts of recognition were carried out by the reigning British monarch. Prior to Confederation, the sovereign did so on the advice of the British Prime Minister. The names of those to be honoured either selected by the colonial governor or Governor-General in British North America and passed on to the Secretary of State for the Colonies, and then the Prime Minister, by the Secretary of State for the Colonies and passed on to the Prime Minister, or by the Prime Minister himself. The British government felt no obligation to consult any government in British North America before bestowing an honour upon any resident of the colonies. Following Confederation, the Prime Minister of Canada submitted a list of names to the monarch via the Governor-General, though the Governor-General also continued to recommend individuals for honours without the Canadian Prime Minister's knowledge. This practice came into question in 1901 when Governor-General the Earl of Minto nominated Thomas Shaughnessy for a knighthood, even after Prime Minister Wilfrid Laurier expressed his opposition to the idea, leading Laurier in the following year to draft a policy whereby all nominees for honours be approved by the Prime Minister before being forwarded to Westminster. Later, the public began to suspect the worthiness of those receiving the knighthoods and elevations to the peerage. The controversy that surrounded the appointment of Sam Hughes as a Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath in 1915 marked the beginning of the end of such honours in Canada, after it was revealed in 1917 that British Prime Minister David Lloyd George had been selling peerage titles and knighthoods to raise money for his political party. The awarding of such distinctions in Canada immediately ceased. Thereafter, the Canadian House of Commons in 1917 and 1919 passed the Nickel Resolutions, which, though never legally binding, generally cemented the cease of titular awards to Canadians. The end of the conferment of imperial honours on Canadians came in 1955. Awards for gallantry and bravery, such as the Victoria Cross, however, remained available. The knighthoods were still conferred on Sir Frederick Banting in 1934, Sir Edwin Leather in 1964, and Sir Terry Matthews in 2002. Further, some pre-existing Canadian peerages continued to be recognized, the Baron de Longueuil and Baron of Fleet, for example, and still others were granted after 1919 by the Sovereign of Canada, such as the Viscount Bennett of Mickleham, Hopewell, and Calgary. Canadian Honours Governor-General the Viscount Monk had originally pushed for a distinct Canadian Order of Knighthood in 1867, to be called the Order of St. Lawrence. The idea was revived by Vincent Massey in 1935 and again in 1951, in between which he also suggested in 1940 a Royal Order of Canada. The Canadian Cabinet, however, never accepted these proposals, generally wishing instead to steer clear of the controversial topic of orders. Still, the beginnings of a distinct Canadian honours system came in March 1934, with the creation of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Long Service Medal by royal warrant of King George V, issued on the advice of the Cabinet of R.B. Bennett. This was the first time an honour specific to Canada and for service in Canada had been established by the Monarch of Canada. There was uncertainty amongst officials in Canada and Britain alike around how to go about creating such an honour, and delays were incurred not only as Canadian bureaucrats interpreted the Nickel Resolution as applying to medals, but also because the King himself was widening the project to consider all the Commonwealth and Empire police forces. This process was refined through the Second World War and Korean War, though the pool of available honours became smaller and smaller as the decades progressed. Non-titular British honours continued to be granted until 1946 and, from 1950 and 1953, only British military decorations were permitted. In 1942, the Canada Medal was created by royal warrant of King George VI, though none was ever struck, and the Canadian Forces decoration was founded in 1947. Though the letters patent of 1947 issued by the King permitted the Governor-General to exercise most of the monarch's royal prerogative on his behalf, It was agreed between George VI and his Canadian Prime Minister at the time, William Lyon Mackenzie King, that the sovereign alone would retain the prerogative to create new honours. In 1951, the first distinctly Canadian campaign medal, the Career Medal, was created, when other Commonwealth countries used the British version. The centennial of Canadian Confederation in 1967 provided the right opportunity and circumstances in which to establish Canada's first order, the Order of Canada. The system was officially established in 1972 and has since expanded, mostly through the 1990s, and generally attracted little criticism. Indeed, the orders, decorations, and medals of Canada inspired other Commonwealth realms, such as Australia and New Zealand, to adopt similar approaches in the respective jurisdictions, as did each of Canada's provinces. However, some experts in the field, such as Christopher McCreary, have pointed out what they see as deficiencies in the construct. At the 2006 Conference on Commonwealth Honours, the concern was raised that Canada does not have a way to recognise the nation's very best, the 3 grades of the Order of Canada being insufficient to do so. It was suggested that either 2 more levels be added to the Order of Canada, equivalent to knighthoods in Australian and British orders, or create a new single-class but limited membership order, similar to the Order of New Zealand. The Order of Precedence also came under scrutiny, particularly the anomaly that all 3 grades of the Order of Canada supersede the top levels of each of the other orders, contrary to international practice. McCreary echoed these comments in 2010 and added that the Canadian honours system was lacking a polar medal, such as those issued in other northern nations, as well as a public service order, akin to the Imperial Service Order, and honours to specifically recognize protective services other than the police forces. In June 2010, McCreary highlighted inconsistency in honoring those in Canada's royal family. For example, the Queen Mother was appointed a Companion of the Order of Canada on only an honorary basis, though the Canadian Forces decoration awarded to her was substantive. Similarly, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, was offered only an honorary appointment to the Order of Canada, which he refused on the grounds that, as the royal consort of the Queen, he was Canadian and thus entitled to a substantive appointment, as he had been awarded the Canadian Forces Decoration and Commemorative Medal for the Centennial of Saskatchewan. In 2013, the constitutions of the Order of Canada and the Order of Military Merit were amended to create for each of the 3 grades of each order an extraordinary category reserved for those members of the royal family nominated and approved for appointment. Upon taking office, governors-general and viceregal consorts become extraordinary companions of the Order of Canada, and the governor-general an extraordinary commander of the Order of Military Merit. Structure and the creation of honours. All honours in Canada emanate from the country's monarch, who is regarded as the fount of honour. Only he or she may create new honours, though this, as part of the royal prerogative, is generally done on the advice of the sitting ministers of the Crown. The sovereign's representative in Canada, the Governor-General, administers most of the honours system through the Chancellery of Honours, which is a part of the office of the Secretary to the Governor-General of Canada. The Governor-General also sets out, via order in council, the order of precedence for the wearing of insignia, decorations, and medals. The momentum to create a new honour typically originates at either the Chancellery of Honours of the Department of National Defence, though private organisations or individuals may also make proposals. The Chancellery will investigate whether or not the suggested honor is necessary and if it will conform within the national honors structure. Should it meet these criteria, the notion is put before the Honors Policy Committee, a group of senior public servants, formed in 1980 within the Privy Council office, and then, if approved, is moved before the Cabinet for an order in Council to be drawn up. On the Prime Minister's advice, via the Governor-General, the documents and drawings for the new honour are presented to the Queen for her consideration, only with her signature on the relevant letters, patent and the design sketches does the new honour officially become extant. Any future amendments to the honour's appearance or award criteria do not need the monarch's approval. The Governor-General will perform such tasks. Instead, in the Canadian structure, unlike its counterparts in Britain and other countries, nominees' names are put forward to the Governor-General by independent committees which in turn receive nominations from the public, in an attempt to create a non-partisan process that avoids political controversy. Most orders have a unique advisory committee, consisting of individuals relevant to the scope of the particular order, all appointed by the Governor-General or a delegate. For instance, the Advisory Committee for the Order of Military Merit has 6 members, 1 appointed by the Governor-General, 4 by the Chief of the Defence Staff, and the Chief of the Defence Staff him or herself. There are also advisory councils or committees for decorations in general and for valor decorations specifically. The Secretary to the Governor-General will usually serve as Secretary-General to many of these boards. The Canadian Honours system also includes 2 dynastic orders, the Order of Merit and the Royal Victorian Order, and 1 personal award of the Sovereign, the Royal Victorian chain. These were created by the Sovereign alone, and inductions and presentations are at his or her personal discretion. Orders. Canada has both dynastic and national orders. These have a number of grades or classes to acknowledge different levels of achievement. Usually, the insignia for the top grades are worn on a neck ribbon by men and on a pinned bow by women, while those for the lower levels are worn suspended on ribbons attached to the left of the jacket of dress, those for women again usually on a bow. These insignia are presented to the recipient by either the monarch or Governor-General. Orders are not awarded to individuals. Instead, one is appointed into membership in a society of honor, and can be promoted to higher grades within the group. The appointment to an order also entitles the appointee to post-nominal letters. Order of Merit. Admission to the Order of Merit is the highest civilian award for merit in Canada, founded in 1902 by King Edward VII to recognize distinguished service in the armed forces, science, art, literature, or for the promotion of culture. The Order of Merit has 1 grade and carries with it only the post-nominal letters OM. One of the few dynastic orders in Canada, the order's membership is limited to, at one time, no more than 24 living individuals from the Commonwealth realms. 4 Canadians have been appointed to the order: William Leon Mackenzie King, Wilder Penfield, Lester B. Pearson, and Jean Creation. There is only 1 grade to the Order of Merit member. Order of Canada. The Order of Canada is the country's 2nd highest civilian honor for merit and is administered by the Governor-General in Council, on behalf of the Monarch of Canada. Created in 1967, appointment is granted to those who adhere to the order's motto Desiderans Melia Rem Patrium, meaning that, in essence, the honor recognizes lifetime contributions made by Canadians who made a major difference to Canada, or non-Canadians who made the world better by their actions. Musicians, politicians, artists, television stars, benefactors, and many more have been accepted into the order since its creation. More than 5,000 people have been appointed to the Order of Canada, the order of which the monarch is sovereign and the serving Governor-General is Chancellor and principal companion. is currently composed of 3 grades: companion, officer, a member. For each grade, there is an extraordinary category reserved for those members of the royal family nominated and approved for appointment. Upon taking office, governors general and viceregal consorts become extraordinary companions for life or until removal from the order. Order of Military Merit. The Order of Military Merit is a society of members of the Canadian Forces who have demonstrated dedication and devotion beyond the call of duty. Established in 1972 by Queen Elizabeth II, who serves as the Order's sovereign, with the Governor-General as the Chancellor and the Chief of the Defence Staff as Principal Commander. The award has 3 classes: Commander, Officer, a member. For each grade, there is an extraordinary category reserved for those members of the royal family in the Canadian Forces nominated and approved for appointment. Upon taking office, governors-general become extraordinary commanders for life or until removal from the order. Order of Merit of the Police Forces. Members of Canada's various police bodies who have demonstrated conspicuous merit and exceptional service are inducted into the Order of Merit of the Police Forces, which was created in 2000 by Queen Elizabeth II. As with the Order of Military Merit, the reigning monarch is the sovereign of the order, while the Governor-General is the Chancellor and the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police acts as Principal Commander. The order has 3 grades: Commander, Officer, a member. Royal Victorian Order. The Royal Victorian Order is a dynastic order established in 1896 by Queen Victoria to recognize those who performed exemplary personal service from the sovereign. The Order's day is the 20th of June, the date of Victoria's accession to the throne, and its motto is Victoria. The structure includes 5 classes and a medal. They're the levels of Knighted Dame, Grand Cross and Knighted Dame Commander, available to all in other Commonwealth realms, are not normally open to Canadian citizens. Due to the titles that come with appointment to those grades and the Cabinet's adherence to the non-binding Nickel Resolution, members of the royal family, however, as subjects of the Canadian monarch but not citizens of Canada, can and do occupy the 2 uppermost grades. The Order's classes, in order of seniority, are Knighted Dame, Head Cross, Knighted Dame Commander, Commander, Lieutenant, a member. Award of the Royal Victorian Medal allows the recipient the use of the post-nominal letters RVM. Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. The Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem is a working order of charitably minded men and women whose philanthropy is expressed principally through its 2 foundations, the St. John Eye Hospital in Jerusalem and St. John Ambulance. The order traces its origins to the Knights Hospitaller of the Crusades, who served the Abbey of St. Mary's Small Hospital for sick pilgrims in Jerusalem in the 12th century. It was established in the United Kingdom in 1831 and given a royal charter by Queen Victoria in 1888, and has existed in Canada in some form for many years, but was only officially brought into the Canadian Honours System in 1995. The Governor-General is the Prior and Chief Officer in Canada, while the Lieutenant Governors serve as Vice Prior in the respective province. Each is also automatically appointed as a Knighted Dame of Justice of Grace upon being sworn into the viceregal office. Members of the royal family may also hold the level of Bailiffs or Dames Grand Cross with the post-nominal letters GCSDJ. Currently, there are approximately 5,500 active Canadian members in the order, induction being granted by nomination only to Canadian citizens of permanent residence at or over the age of 18. This is done at the discretion of the sovereign head of the order, Queen Elizabeth II, on the advice of the Prior. In Canada, the order has 5 grades: Bailiffs or Dames Grand Cross, Knighted Dame, Commander, Officer, and Serving Member.